right, so here's the deal. I'm going to go live. I'm pretty sure my foot is broken. So after this video, I'm going to go to the hospital. Get them to check it out. And here's the deal. We are now beginning the session where I answer questions for free about Social Security disability benefits. Where's my cricket? So with that said, we are going to go ahead and have you call in. You get to call in and I will answer any questions that you want about Social Security benefits. If it is a Medicare question, please don't ask me. Just call these guys. Call Chapter. Call Chapter. Let them do a tune-up on your Medicare Advantage. They save people on average per year like $1,100. Please just give them a call. I don't do Medicare. Medicare is not my jam. I don't hang out inside the Medicare barbershop where people sing about health insurance. I just don't go there. I don't hang out. They just don't do my fade right. So the bottom line is this. If it's about Medicare, please give them a call. Social Security disability insurance, supplemental security income, disability, things like that. That's what we're going to be talking about. That's what's so important. Now you call the 407-279-1754 phone number, 407-279-1754 phone number. And then there are some rules. Here are the rules. Number 1, no question stacking. Number 2, no story mode. Number 3, have your legal question ready. Number 4, use a fake name when you call in. Number 5, whatever you're watching the show on, mute that because we're going to talk through the phone. That's very important, okay? Now, with that said, I'm going to go ahead, get the phone set up. We got enough battery. We should have enough battery. You know what I mean? Sometimes we run a little low, but we should be okay. I'm putting the phone number into the chat section right now. We're going to wait for the first person to call in and get the ball rolling. Okay, now with that said, just a couple of things that I want to cover with you. Yes, we can talk about political stuff during this video. Oh, here's the first call. All right, here we go. Hold on. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Hnot. We are live on YouTube. Remember to use a fake name throughout this process. What is your legal question? Go ahead.
Oh, this is Big E. I recently set up a GoFundMe account, and I don't want to mess with my existing bank account in any way. That's my direct deposit, and I do not want to interfere with that at all. Can I set up a separate bank account at my bank just for my licensed charity organization for the YouTube funds to go to if I ever receive any?
Yeah, of course. You can set up a totally separate bank account. You can set up a separate company. You could set up all that stuff.
Okay. I just didn't want to trigger some kind of audit or investigation or anything by having 2 bank accounts.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah. But no, you should be good. Yeah, no worries. But if that answers your question, I'll rock and roll to the next caller and we'll keep going.
Great. You wouldn't allow me to just say the name of my organization, would you?
Oh, yeah, by all means, go for it. Give me the name and how they can look it up on Google. Go ahead.
Okay, it is Failed Attempted Assassinations by the Law.
Sure.
And I would have to give you my name for the other. You said not to use your names.
I mean, you can use it because they're going to look it up. Yeah, I mean, they're going to look that up anyway. So go, yeah, you could use it. Go ahead.
Use my name?
Yeah, I would because they're going to be able to look you up then. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay, Robert Howell.
Perfect.
H.
Perfect.
But, they can type in failed attempted assassinations by the law and, that'll get them there.
Perfect.
And I would appreciate anybody giving any consideration for me. But it'll be okay to set up a separate bank account.
Yes.
Okay, I don't want to interfere with my existing one at all.
Yep, no worries.
Thank you very much, sir.
Absolutely. Well, sounds good, sir. I will catch you later. You have a wonderful, wonderful day, okay?
Okay, you too.
Thank you, good sir. Bye-bye. Excellent. We're going to take the next call real quick. We just missed a call. We're going to wait for that person to call back, and we will rock and roll and wiggle and jiggle our way into the future. Here we go. Let's wait for that person to go ahead and call back, and let's have a good time waiting so that we can rock and roll. And we're still waiting. It's earlier. Normally I go live way later. So I understand there's not going to be like a ton of people watching the show. That's fine. That's okay. I still love you. All right, here, I'll call him back. Here we go. I'll get him rocking and rolling. Here we go. Clickety click. I'm clicking the phone. Boop. Boop. Here we go. We are calling back the person right now. See what we can do. Let's see if we can get that person on the phone. All right, here we go. All right. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Hnot. We are live on YouTube. Remember to use a fake name throughout this process. What is your legal question? Go ahead.
Yes, sir. My name is Paul. I had my SSDI hearing in front of the ALJ Lodge Judge September 10th.
Okay.
It lasted 17 minutes. I had tried to go back to work. I was working about 4 months. During my testimony, the judge was questioning me about why I couldn't work. He stopped me, said that he didn't want to hear from the vocational expert, and then gave us 2 weeks to turn in my work records, which I had resigned, and my payment or my claim online showed that my hearing has been postponed. So I'm just wondering what that would be for.
Okay, so first and foremost, they're looking at your work records to figure out why the IRS records aren't correct. So that's like the first thing. So were there any jobs that weren't reported on? Wait, do you have an attorney or no?
No.
Okay. So what this means is when you don't have an attorney, usually ahead of time, the detailed earnings query, summary earnings query, stuff like that isn't worked out, and changes aren't made ahead of time to go ahead and make sure that the earnings record with the IRS is correct with what you've stated previously. So what they're looking at is they're probably saying, okay, there may be more jobs or less jobs here, than what we can see. So as a result of that, it's a situation where, that's an issue. Now, if you didn't go to the vocational expert, that's probably because the judge wanted to clarify exactly what jobs you had before getting the opinion of the vocational expert as to what jobs could potentially exist in the national economy that you could do. So that's an issue. That's one of those big things where it's like, when people don't get an attorney and they go to a hearing, I'm always like, man, you don't know. You don't know what you're missing here because you got to fix certain things. Another thing is that, did you have a medical expert present during your hearing or no?
No.
Okay. When the judge did this mini hearing of 17 minutes, did the judge ask a lot of questions or not a lot of questions?
Not a lot of questions.
All right. So judges, when it's a claimant going in by themselves, we call them rocket dockets. And that's where basically the judge asks a couple of questions and that's the whole schmutz. And the reason why is you have nobody there to represent you to cross-examine you or the questions that the judge asked, which means that the judge just asks a couple of questions as to what the judge is interested about. And then from there, it is what it is. You keep rocking and rolling forward. So were there impairments not covered in the testimony and statements that you made?
Were there impairments?
Like,
no, and both of my doctors filled out the questionnaire saying I was unable to work. So basically, do they count that as a failed work attempt because it was 4 months? It was with my previous company. They just didn't have updated income.
I mean, if it's just that, they'll basically pull the, they'll pull the earnings, the payroll details, the stubs. So, I mean, if it's just that, it's not a big deal. If you've got 2 RFCs, are the RFCs from specialists or are the RFCs from basically like, master's level providers?
From my primary medical MD doctor and then a naturopathic doctor. The hematologist said they do not fill them out.
Okay. It could go either way, but like, I don't know, man. Honestly, it sounds like you've got a good rolling start. What's your current age?
50.
Okay, so did you negotiate the alleged onset date at all? Did you discuss with him maybe an amended alleged onset date? Like, what happened with that?
They just asked if we agreed to an alleged onset date, which was a year, 9 months before my 50th birthday, and we said we agreed to that onset date.
Okay, so 5 months before your 50th. How many months have you been 50 so far?
April I turned, so 6 months.
Okay, so basically they're wiping out most of the back pay. I mean, so if you agreed to that with the judge, then the judge is looking towards an approval, and the judge already has an amended alleged onset date that they're looking at. So at this point, what I would say is, I mean, you should be pretty good. Just get the stuff in, and hopefully the judge will roll in your direction, and you should be good to go.
Okay, thank you. And then just the unlawful work attempt, is it like a statute where they have to disregard it, or it's up to the judge? It was literally 4 months to the day from when I started to when I had quit due to not being able to do it.
The judge has some wiggle room here. I've seen them include it when it shouldn't have been. I've seen them not include it when it should have been included. So it's really up to the judge. But if you already negotiated an amended AOD, to the 50 point, the judge is looking at just making sure you're not a fibber as to how much you worked, and then they'll probably process.
Yeah. Okay, great. I appreciate your time. Thanks
Yeah, absolutely. You have a wonderful, wonderful day, good sir.
You too, bye.
Bye-bye. Perfect. Excellent. There we go. We're going to take the next call. We missed a bunch of calls there real quick. Oh, my goodness. Missed a ton of calls. All right, we're going to try and call back this gentleman right here. Oh, goodness. Hold on. Let me see if I can get it. Boop. There we go. Boop. Speaker. Oh, hold on. We're going to see if we can get this person real quick. Rock and roll. Here we go. Excellent. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Hnot. We are live on YouTube. Remember, we use a fake name throughout this process. What is your legal question? Go ahead.
Not so much a legal question. My name is John. It's just a statement with all these things about the funds being depleted and everything else that's going on. Why isn't it that with all the monies that were taken in for tariffs, that the priority is not using that money to rebuild the coffers from what the government has taken from us?
So the question, and the phone's a little bit tough to hear, but your question is, if they took in a bunch from tariffs, why didn't they go ahead and use that money to basically, pass it on to the Social Security trust funds so that the trust funds last longer, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Well, I mean, in an ethical, wonderful, snuggly world, you would be correct. That would be a situation where, at the end of the day, they should have gone and basically, fix the trust funds. But the Republicans don't usually think about Social Security in that regard, and it would take trillions to fix the trust funds. So while it was a lot in tariffs, it is not Social Security fix money. So I mean, like the bottom line is this: if the Republicans were a little bit smarter about the way they handled Social Security and getting Social Security voters, they would have made some sort of attempt to, go ahead and basically work it out in a positive way, in a positive direction, to the benefit of Social Security recipients, so that they weren't so worried. Here's another thing. Look, if I were like running, and okay, so let's say that I was on the Republican side, right? And I'm an independent, but let's say I was on the Republican side. So let's say that basically, I was watching what was going on. I know that 2033-ish, and probably earlier, because they got the fertility rates wrong when they calculated it all. I know that 33-ish, the Social Security trust funds are essentially going to run ... out. And at that point, people get around 22% less per month. That means that the next president is going to be dealing with that. And Trump is doing well. He's doing he's doing vastly better than Biden. And so as a result, there's probably going to be another potential Republican for the 4 years after Trump. So with that said, that means it's going to be a Republican problem. So if the Republicans were smart about it, they would be definitely putting some money towards the Social Security fix, but they're just not. Now, with that said, how would they do it? They would take tariff money and put it into a sovereign trust that was then invested for the benefit of the Social Security trust recipients, which are your SSDI, widows, ex-spouses, retired people, etc. Even your DACs, disabled little child, ones. So I guess what I'm saying to you is you're right, but the Republicans haven't really woken up yet to use their brain on the focal point of how do we get more Social Security recipient voters? Because, you have a lot of people out there who are on the fence receiving retirement as to whether they should vote for Trump because he's not known for supporting Social Security benefits. So no, I think you're right. I think that's a very strong reality.
Well, the thing is that they've been taking and pilfering our money since like the 1970s to pay for other things and keep the government afloat, but they never paid it back. But yet they're sending AIG units all over the place to try and catch people who are defrauding the government when the government has been actually in turn defrauding most of us.
Correct. If you look at the reality of it, the government basically took money and abused money and converted it into essentially, their own, bond market system. And then they spent it how they wanted to spend it. And then 15 years later, they paid it back. And when they paid it back, they didn't pay it back, properly. They did it at basically an amount due, but it didn't cover what the actual cost of loss was to the people. I can't, I can't defend what they did, The only thing I can do is, basically make people
Run for
aware.
office.
Yeah.
That's what you can do. You can run for office.
Oh
You
man, I
understand
know.
it better than anyone.
But see, here's the thing though. If I run for office, I'd have to sell the law firm. I'd have to eat properly, which, and I just got news from my healthcare provider that apparently my shitty eating habits of eating fast food and just whatever junk I can get. And I had a friend over that, I know who's much older. It's like in her 70s, who basically came over and she looked at, the fridge and what was going on. And, I was explaining to her, like, what I usually cook and how things, she's like, it's like a 15-year-old's kitchen. It's basically, I've got all kinds of cereals and, milk, but it's just, I found out that like now the question, and I have to find out, I have to call on Monday to find out what the deal is, but I am now either pre-diabetic or diabetic. So I have to find out how bad it is, but, I have to do some life changes and, it's just something that happens, it's bad news, but what can you do? I've effed around and found out, like, if you work nonstop at some point you find out, and that's what happened, so yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening, and also thank you for putting in your insight into this.
Absolutely, good sir. You have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I'll catch you later.
All righty, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Hnot. We are live on YouTube. Remember to use a fake name throughout this process. What is your legal question? Go ahead.
Yes. I want to say I've been doged.
Sure.
I got approved for my disability in 2017.
Okay.
And my son was 18, but still in high school. His father was drawing SSI at the time, but we were not together, hadn't been together in a long time.
Sure.
I qualified for the disability.
Okay.
And his father had the SSI. I had an attorney. I paid the attorney fees on the money that was collected. So it was almost 2 years of back pay. And it appears that for the first 18 months or close to that, they paid only SSI benefits, and then ended up turning it over to disability. And they're saying I got overpaid for my son while he was in school. And I was told I was getting back pay from the difference from my disability amount to his father's, which was SSI.
Okay, wait. So let's summarize real quick. So the father had SSI, you got SSDI, and the child was on what benefit?
He was collecting SSI off of his dad when I ended up filing for disability.
Okay.
When I got approved,
so it was the
my
child.
attorney filled out the.
Yeah, was the child
He
disabled?
He was 18, but
Okay.
it was his high school year.
So just to be clear, the child was on auxiliary benefits. The child was not disabled himself.
No.
Okay, cool. So child's on auxiliary benefits. He gets to keep going and receiving the benefits up and through 19, so long as he's in school. So he got to keep rolling. And then the father was on SSI. And basically, you were getting SSDI.
Was a lower amount than what he would have collected off of my disability.
Right.
So I was told the $3,000 for those 2 years was the difference he should have got if he drew off of me, because I got approved back over 2 years. But now they're saying I owe the $3,000 some odd dollars back.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's back pay for auxiliary benefits where if you're found disabled, they can go farther back in time and basically, give the auxiliary benefits at the higher amount to the kid. And they're saying that the kid should not have received that. And now there's an overpayment. Is that what's going on?
Correct.
Okay. So I mean, this is not a hard problem to fix. You just get the math together, submit an accounting, put it on a 632, and rock and roll.
Right. Well, I've tried that, but also I went for months and months after I got approved because the first amount that they started paying me, they paid me under SSI numbers, not my disability numbers.
So you're
And I
saying,
kept telling them it was wrong.
okay, so the math is more complex. Why were you only SSI for that period? Because normally they only pay out SSI for, essentially 4 additional months, because SSI, you don't count the first 5, you don't count the first month or the last month, but SSDI, you don't count the first 5 months and the last month. So it's like
Correct.
4, yeah.
Right. So it goes back to the date that I got approved versus the date I got filed. That's where SSI kicked in. And in what, 5, 6, 7 months, that's when disability kicked in. But they're under those months, they're still showing me under SSI amounts.
So and the other issue is retroactive benefits. I mean, did you go backwards and what was your alleged onset date?
My alleged onset date was, I think, February, 17th of 2015.
Okay, so 2/17, 2015. Okay. So what was the filing date?
It was May.
Okay.
Of the 15th.
Of 15. Wait, so they're both 2015, right?
Correct.
And okay, so the alleged onset date was February and May was when you filed, correct?
Correct.
All right. So then in that instance, what we're looking at, let's go find a calendar. So, okay, so there's February. Where's May? There's May. Okay, so you had 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the first month doesn't count for June. So then all of the payments you should have received should have been all SSDI payments. So why are you getting any back pay of SSI?
That's what I'd like to know. I've got all the paper. I saved everything. They're saying from the time I filed and got approved, because it don't count the first month, that my amount is $663. Just say, and it stays $663 all the way until the 2 years is up, and then it switches over to SSDI.
Okay, so all right.
Like I said, I had been many times to the Social Security office. It was crazy. They actually paid my attorney on the original amount that I should have collected, and then eventually filed a paper with my attorney and said they overpaid because they switched it from SSDI to SSI for the 2 years back pay, and then it went to SSDI when I got approved.
This is what
I'm sure my attorneys wasn't happy either.
This is one of those things where I have to look through the accounting and figure out what went wrong, and then work with you on writing up a response and potentially submit it to the regional FO to get the local FO to process it correctly. This is one of those questions that's more of like one of those private sessions where I have to like sit there and go through the stuff with you. So what I would say, is this, in the bio of the video, there's like a little mini contract for a 30-minute or 1 hour. If you can get together all the accounting, get together basically a mini write-up on what happened, then I can sit down and work with you and get you to write up essentially the proper document. And then we can, work on getting that sent over to, of course, in this case, since you failed any communication with the local FO, you got to go to the regional and see if the regional can go ahead and work it.
One of them actually called to collect, and now I did verify it was them. And I told them that I was going to appeal it, and the guy was like, "Well, it's too bad. I'm putting you down for $60 a month off your check, regardless." And they've already started taking it out of my check.
Okay.
Oh yeah, he was rude.
So, I mean, yeah. So to do one of those private sessions with me, we'll figure it out and go through the details. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you got it. You have a wonderful, wonderful day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, so I missed a ton of calls. Keep in mind, we're only going to do about 30 minutes. So I'm going to wait until the next person calls in, and then we're going to do it. We're supposed to only go to 30 minutes. So here we go. Here's the next one. Boop. And speakers on. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Hnot. We are live on YouTube. Remember to use a fake name throughout this process. What is your legal question? Go ahead.
Yes, sir. My name is Dennis, and I was calling because I filed a SSDI case back in 2023 of August, and it stressed out for about, I want to say, 2 years. I'm also a disabled veteran from the VA. I get paid at the 100% amount, but I'm 90% on paper, so I'm getting TDUI through the VA. If you're familiar with that,
TDIU.
and so. TDIU, so basically I can't work. I can only make a certain amount of money if I choose to. So I did the whole process. It was told to me that, me being a VA veteran and with my percentage being so high that I'm not guaranteed a favorable decision with SSDI, but I would be looked at a little bit different compared to a regular civilian because I've already been rated by, another government agency. So I went through the process 2 years, submitted all the evidence, in regards to my ailments. And, they denied me, I want to say, 3 times. I had a meeting with the judge and also another side person who was, I guess, looking to see what I can do in regards to work. So long story short, I got denied, all the way through. And my law firm encouraged me to do something that I wasn't too particular about, but I went on and did it because I just didn't have anybody else to reach out to.
Sure.
They advised me to start my case all over again and start from scratch. And so the problem I had was, if they're going to use the same evidence that denied me 3 times on my prior case, what difference is it going to make for me to start all over and use that same evidence? Or will they possibly have me to get re-examined again and get some fresh evidence for the second case? It's like, how likely do you see someone winning a SSDI case when they failed the first attempt and they start all over again from scratch? Like, how would you have recommended that if you were my lawyer?
Couple of things. I mean, the question's too broad because I don't have access to your medical records, so I can't tell you what was good in the past and what's going to be good going forward. But first off, there's an inherent bias against TDIUs because, they're for people who are watching that don't know how that works. They are not 100% P&Ters, which means that they meet the full requirements for unable to do functional, as a result of their impairments, they get 100%. A TDIU is less than the 100%, but they give them 100% because they say they can't work. I mean, it's more complex than that, but that's the cute version of it. And so as a result, what did your TDIU with traditional math come to? Like, what was your highest rated percentage for your highest rated impairment?
My highest rated percentage for my impairment was my anxiety and depression, which I believe I was rated at 70%.
Okay, so let me ask you this: Are you a Nexus or no?
What do you mean Nexus?
Did it start from, come from, result from military service?
Yes, all my ailments have came from the military service. Yes, sir.
Okay, so is the VA attorney working on getting the 100%, or rather getting the P&T, or what's going on with that?
Well, right now, now the law firm that I'm working with, yes, I'm working with both entities right now. I'm doing the SSDI side, and I've been working on the VA side for about 4 or 5 years. Right now, we are definitely, as of today, we're in motion to get 100% P&T, which I was told will automatically dismiss the TDIU and put me in P&T status. So that's where we're at right now. But I did get a raise from 80%, which that was where I was at when I first started my SSDI case. I was at 80, and I got a 10% raise since then. So as of today, I'm at 90% on paper, and I'm getting paid at the 100% amount TDIU. But we are in the process of getting it to go to P&T. Yes, sir.
Yeah, because you want the special and the spousal attachment too, because the spousal benefits are there. All right, I want you to write down this statute because it's going to be important. Okay, it's I as in igloo -2. Yeah.
Give one
Yeah.
second, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Say it again, sir. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's Eiseniglu I-2-1-40 subsection 2. And once you get your full PNT, you're going to use that for expedited allowance for red flag. You can't use that with your current status of the TDIU, but you can use it for the PNT. The other thing too is that in 2017, I want you to research Commissioner Saul and the ruling that was made related to TDIUs and PNTs for Social Security disability benefit adjudications. And what you're going to find basically is that it used to be a very simple, straightforward process, and now it's not. And they put the veterans through the full review ringer like everybody else. So, just go research that. That'll be, a very good thing to know as well. Now, look, with your types of setup, what are your top 5 impairments? Walk me through the top 5.
Right now, I have the anxiety, depression. I have sciatica in my lower back. I have a secondary condition to sciatica, which is pain in both of my legs. I also have tinnitus, and also have I can't think of the exact medical term, but basically I have a condition where I have the pains in my feet. I forgot what it's called, but yeah, I have a medical condition where I have pains in my left and right foot. In regards to the from me wearing the type of shoes and boots I had when I was in the military, and how it affected my feet throughout the years since I've been discharged. So the feet condition, tinnitus, sciatica in my back, the pains in my left and right legs because of the sciatica, and also the anxiety and depression.
Okay. Were you prescribed a walker, a wheelchair, an electric chair, a rollator?
All I've been prescribed is a back brace and medication over time.
Okay. So let me ask you this. When it comes to ambulation, like, do you have special shoes? Do you have grab bars? Like, what do you have going on?
I don't have any special shoes at all. They haven't given me anything. I've asked for it, from the VA. Haven't gotten any responses in regards to my feet. I just got rated for my feet maybe about a few months ago. And other than that, it's pretty much just the back brace, the medication, and I've had mental health sessions in regards to my anxiety and depression as well. And I've had therapy for my lower back and also my legs. Physical therapy.
Okay. So let me ask you this. When it comes to the anxiety and the depression, are you just using VA treatment, or is it one of those gigs where you're like having a specialist, like a psychologist, psychiatrist, behavioralist outside of the VA beyond, community care?
I've used what the VA has provided because I'm not able to afford anything outside the VA. So I've used the VA's a specialist, only because, for one, I guess it'll better document the issues I have, since it is VA issued doctors. So I've used the VA. Like I said, again, I can't afford to use anyone outside the VA unless they recommend it themselves. Other than that, I don't see a civilian doctor for any reason, or a civilian psychologist.
Okay. So here's the kicker. I have an extremely difficult time winning VA claimants if they only have VA evidence. That's because the VA standards don't match up well with the severity standards of the civilian SSA, SSDI. So you got to find the money to buy insurance and start going to doctors outside of the VA. And you're going to have to get RFCs completed. And I'm assuming, are you under 55?
Yes, I'm 45 years old. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you're going to have to make this claim squeaky nice for the judge, because they do not want to approve people under 50, especially when they're getting a VA check. Because remember, the VA check is a chunk. It's it's much bigger than the traditional disability check. So when they look at this, they go like, hey, this person obviously has some money. They obviously have some stuff. Because you're looking at 65, 66, 6,700 plus per month. 46, 47 48 kind of area. So like, the point I'm getting at is you're getting funds. Why haven't you invested into a civilian based health insurance? Is it just like you feel like the VA is good enough, or like what's the gig there?
Yeah, I pretty much feel like, I was always told that the VA, the VA, doctors are not, the best, but only because, again, I'm only getting $3,831 a month from the VA, and I have bills to pay, and I haven't worked in 2 years. So, being able to go to a civilian doctor, I don't have really any money to come out of pocket because I got to take care of other financials every single month. And so I budget, and my budget doesn't necessarily allow me to, see a doctor outside the VA when the VA themselves have the same type of doctor who can do the same thing. So I kind of rely on them, unfortunately. See, like I said, the P&T part would, probably allow me to do a little bit more. But right now on the TDIU, I can't.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. So bottom line is this. I would have to take a look at the medical evidence, figure out which way I would take the claim. Cause obviously this is a situation where something's missing from the record that the judges would like. You're already represented on these, on the SSDI side. So what you can do is you can do one of those like 1 hours, send me over the medical documentation. And then basically in that private session, I can go through and figure out, the who, what, when, and where, for, you to potentially get an approval. But it sounds like you're light on the types of evidence that the judges are looking for to bullet point in their briefs.
Well, see, I don't have access to the medical records because the law firm, they have everything pretty much there, secured there. So how will I get that evidence from them to give to someone like you to look at and go over?
Well, you just call the hearing office at the SSA and ask them for a copy of your exhibit disc. They'll get you a copy of your medical records that were used for the hearing. Remember, you filed a new filing. So, now that evidence has already been adjudicated. So it's not really supposed to be used. I mean, they'll sometimes look at it a little bit, but it's not supposed to be used, So I guess what my suggestion to you would be, call the hearing office, get a copy of the past medical evidence you had, and then get that forwarded over to me. Do one of those private consultation hours, and then that's where I don't represent you before the SSA, but I basically just look through everything, and you get access to my brain, and I tell you what's good, what's not good, stuff like that. But I would do that because what you're really calling me about is you're saying, "Hey, what the hell? Why am I not approved? What am I missing from this claim?" And, I think what you're saying to me is you feel like you should have, could have, would have been approved, but something's halting it or slowing it or whatever. So keep in mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like everyone. Yeah, I'm sorry. No, I'll say it real quick before I forget. Is that everyone at the law firm kind of made my head big when they found out that I was a disabled veteran, and the money and the percentage I was getting, they made it seem like, again, that I wasn't going to be automatically approved, but I would be maybe one step ahead of a regular civilian because of my percentage, and that I would get expedited in regards to a decision, not expedited for an approval, but expedited for a yes or no answer. So they made me feel like this wasn't going to be as hard as a regular person. And then I went through the whole process for 2 years just for them to tell me no. And now we're starting all over again. And now we're waiting for a decision right now. In the first step of the second go round, we're waiting for a decision right now. That's what they emailed me a few days ago. So like I said, I'm just really don't know what to do. I didn't know if I should have stayed with the first case and maybe came to you while the first case was still around, because they sent me to another agency that looked at my case and told me that, yes, we can represent you to file this to the upper echelon people, but I didn't have the money to give them to go to fight on my behalf because I have some things I owe to the IRS. Mm-hmm. And they told me if you owe the IRS anything, we can turn you away from representing you, and having you pay us after the fact. So they wanted me to give them $400 up front to represent me, but that wasn't a guarantee that I was going to get approved working with them. They still could have got me a no. So I know I'm all over the place right now. I do apologize. I thank you so much for your understanding and your ear.
Yeah.
But I was just really upset to have to go back to scratch, all the way back to the beginning. And I didn't know if that was the smartest idea or not. And like I said, I didn't know to reach out to someone like you, who's an expert at this. If I would have known that, I would have probably said, hold on a second, let me talk to you because I see you all the time on social media. You come up a lot on my feed. So I wish I would have maybe came to you with some advice first before I told them to scratch the first case and let's start all over again. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now, sir. I'm sorry.
So, I mean, this is what I would say with this situation. Okay, so first and foremost, I-2-1-40 won't allow a TDIU to have the same pleasures of expedited treatment as an SSDI or as a PNTer. So, right off the bat, like keep in mind, you know what I mean? Like that's, something to consider. The other thing to consider is, there's an inherent bias against the TDIUs because, at the end of the day, they are already getting 100% check. So, when they look at 5 potential people at a hearing and they're going to approve this person, they're going to approve 2 this day and then 3 the next day of the 5, where do you stack up in the people they can potentially approve? And so, obviously you didn't rank in the whatever, but here's my suggestion with this. All right, look, so you've got an attorney already. I don't know which firm it is. I would call them and put their feet on the fire and say, what is not good in my claim? Or do the hour with me and then call them and then ask them or help them or whatever to get on track. Cause, obviously it's not rolling in the right direction. But, the big thing you've got to do is figure out what are the things you need for the judge to have the bullet points that they need to write into a brief for an approval. And what you really call me about is to say, what are the specific types of evidence I need to go and obtain? And that's reasonable. That's how you win the claim. So, but do me a favor in the meantime, like in between when we're chatting and not, yada yada.
Yes, sir.
So what I would say is this: do me a favor and go and basically go write down each of your impairments, and then write down the type of specialist that is used for each of those impairments. Go look at the options of how you can get those specialists through the VA. Even if you have to travel, even if it's community care, even if it's an emergency room, or it's one of those like urgent care, whatever thingies, and then start collecting data, from specialists for each one of those impairments, because you're going to need multiple types of specialty opinions to combat the CEMEs, the doctors they sent you to at the SSA, the consultative examination medical experts. Because what probably nipped you was that you didn't have a grid out option, so you were left with vocational allowance or listing. You almost certainly aren't listing level criteria. So at the end of the day, what this probably comes down to is you probably, in all reality, have to go ahead and meet the standards of no job in the national economy, which is not easy because they're going to look at, can he do any sedentary job, any light job on planet Earth within the jurisdiction of the United States. So it's just one of those things where that's what's tough about these under 50 claimants. It's just a much harder standard of what jobs they could potentially do. So I would do the hour, but find out all the specialists that you could have. Because if I asked you right now, what specialists are you going to related to your impairments? Walk me through, what are the specialists you're currently going to?
Well, right now, as of today, I'm not going to any right now. I'm in the process of trying to get the VA to set me up with a new mental health specialist, and there's a waiting list. I was seeing a physical therapist for my back and my legs. Early last year, they all of a sudden stopped the treatment, and even the person I was going to go see, which was an outside party, the VA recommended, they were trying to fight on my behalf as well as to, this patient needs more sessions. The VA wouldn't respond to them. They wouldn't respond to me. And so, there's only so much fighting they can do because they don't represent me. They're not my personal doctor. And so the VA has been kind of been like, kind of iffy when it comes to their assistance. And so I got x-rays. I got things that the SSDI sent me to go get. I had all that stuff done that they wanted me to do, and it was all submitted for evidence. And I submitted all my VA evidence that got me, to the percentage that that I was at the time. They got all of that. My law firm claims they got all of that. And so with all that being said, I had doctors who were looking at me during the process. They were kind of like looking at me as though to say, wow, you should be approved. Or, they could kind of give me the impression that, you are what you say you are in regards to your condition. and they made it seem like, they didn't tell me you're going to get approved, but they kind of made me feel like this should probably be a slam dunk, and then it wasn't. So, yeah, I'm fighting to answer your question. I'm fighting to get more help and see more specialists right now, but the VA is moving their feet really, really slow right now, and it's kind of annoying.
So, keep in mind, there's no such thing as a slam dunk in the United States military unless they're dropping it from a plane. And keep in mind,
Right.
you know what I mean? I mean, shit breaks all the time. Even the plane breaks on the way over. But,
Right.
the big thing is they're going to get real slow real quick because this government shutdown is going to be used by Trump to go ahead and mass terminate people. So, you're playing that situation. So, but all right, I will catch up with you in the future because I got to go head to the hospital and get my foot looked at. But I will catch you later. Do one of those 1 hours and then use what you learned from me to go over to the other law firm to kind of boost them and push them to go ahead and do a better job on the claim. Yeah.
Where do I go to get to set the 1 hour up? Where do I go for the?
Oh yeah, you just go into the bio of the video and you basically from there just you'll see 1 hour private consultation. You just click on the link, you print out the little mini contract, you fill it out, you send the payment, and then we put you on the calendar. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your help. You've been a great help. Thank you so much.
Absolutely good, sir. I will catch you later. You have a wonderful, wonderful day. Okay.
Yes, sir. You too. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, so that is our 30 minutes for the day. I know people want to do more than that, and I totally get it. And, we might do one over the weekend. I'm not totally sure because I did miss 2 of them. So this is, I did miss 2 this week. So either way, I will catch you all a little bit later. We did miss around 20, 30, I don't know, 40-ish, 50-ish, maybe more, maybe 60th. Wow. We did miss a lot of callers. So we will catch up in the not too distant future. We will keep answering questions and rock and roll from there. Have an absolutely wonderful day. Please remember to like and subscribe. Please remember to take care of yourself. If you enjoy these shows and I helped you out or something, please consider going to Google and typing in Disability Resolution Law Firm or Disability Resolution Florida. Throw that into Google, look at the business page, maybe throw some stars up there. I will catch you all a little bit later. We will rock and roll and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.